Daredevil, or not Daredevil, God, Matt basically says, we'll take it. And Foggy's a little bit concerned that, we probably can't afford this, as he calls it, a palace, because unless we get clientele, more clientele. And then um, or Matt says to Dared or Matt pretty much basically sort of weaves um, the real estate agent into kind of talking about their client, or like kind of their clientele, and how Matt wants to say that he believes that his clients are innocent, and Foggy says, I believe that innocents include everyone not yet convicted of a crime yet. And then basically he says, we need more clientele. And Foggy's like, do you think, he just thinks that a client will, he says he doesn't believe that a client will just fall into his arms. And Matt says, at this point, I'm just hoping for one. So you kind of notice that they're desperate to find kind of clients to really build their law firm up. Then when he says just one, then we see a hand, a bloody hand with a knife. And we're introduced to the Karen Page character, or Karen Page, and she's basically, the cops show up and she's screaming, "I didn't do it! I didn't do it! I didn't do it!" And you can see that even though she's carrying a bloody knife, you can tell that she could be guilty, and they end up arresting her for the alleged murder of her boyfriend. She screams and says, "I didn't do this! I didn't do this!" as they try to cuff her. And then after it's try to cuff her, Foggy gets a phone call from Brett about sort of the homicide that just happened.
Hey, buddy.
Female suspect. And he's basically gives her basically that they arrested her, and definitely, and how it's basically definitely counts as interesting.
Definitely qualifies.
And then well, and then they ask her if she's been charged, and the assistant DA hasn't made the call yet. So they go over to, and because Matt's got super hearing, he kind of overhears the conversation, and
do you have a name on the suspect?
And yeah, we find out that it's Karen Page, which um, so that's how she's kind of introduced to the story. So they show up as her lawyers, as I said, and they pretty much sit down and ask her what happened, and she basically gives them the spiel of what happened. And she says that
you were found in your apartment?
Basically, they're asking her questions about, how she was found in the apartment of one Daniel Fisher, and how she's kind of they kind of assume that it is a homicide. And then Karen's pretty much kind of amazed that she's already got lawyers, and Foggy says, "I bribed a desk sergeant with cigars," and Matt's like, "You need to stop giving Beth cigars." And Karen's still freaked out and sort of like trying to figure out how she got lawyers, and basically basically she says that, a little bit curious. curious about how long they've been practicing law, and she says that we've been practicing law for about like 8 hours, and he says I was going from when we got our own desk.
7 hours.
So they said it was 7 hours, and she's a little appalled, or that her lawyers are so much rookies. And then she says that she doesn't have enough money to pay them, and Foggy kind of says, well, kind of wants to almost ditch her for the fact that she didn't pay, but Matt says, why don't we work together? You don't have any money, and we don't have any clients, and why don't we just work together? And then they end up taking a deposition, and how she was working for Union Allen Construction, and how she's a secretary. Daniel worked downstairs in legal. So then Karen says that she actually tried to ask out one of her co-workers, Daniel, and she feels like because it was so hard to meet people in the city, and so she asked him for a drink, and they met at the bar.
Oh shit, it's still recorded.
They had a few drinks, and the next time that I remember, she thinks that she's been framed for murder because she woke up with her hands in his blood, holding the knife, and so as she's sort of pleading with Matt about the incident and screaming that she says, please, you have to believe me, I didn't kill him, you can hear Matt kind of slowly listen to her heartbeat, and she says that, I believe you, Miss Page. Cut to the park where we see a man eating a sandwich. And the man eating a sandwich, the other man played by Wesley shows up, who was in his suit and tie. Wesley is played by James Wesley is played by Toby Leonard Moore. Toby Leonard Moore is best known for, and he's more of a character. He was in John Wick, as I've said, and he was in Billions, and I think I've already covered him. But he walks up to this guy who's eating a sandwich in the park, and he basically throws out a number, and the number is 28,957, and then the guy says, who is played by not Wesley, but see who's played by